Coming up on Kismet.
BDSM, bondage disciplines, sadism, masochism, they're only focusing on the orgasm. It's unlikely they're going to get there.
Welcome to the Kismet podcast, where we explore your world of post-divorce reinvention, connection, and your pursuit of passion. Join us as we navigate love's second act. Wow. So welcome to the Kismet podcast, where we embark on a journey of transformation, exploring life after the end of a long-term relationship. I'm your host, and after the dissolution of my own marriage, I re-entered the dating scene, only to find it had evolved significantly since I'd last been out there. Dating apps are a brave new world for me, and technology had made leaps and bounds. What surprised me most was the evolution in sexual practices. Terms like rimming, tukaslingus, pegging, BDSM, and choking were all part of the new landscape. I was curious about these practices and how they've become more widely accepted, and many of my friends pointed to the influence of changing norms in porn. Eager to understand this, I ventured to Studio Kink, a unique space tucked away in a St. Peter's back alley, adorned with vibrant graffiti. On my way to the first class there, I was a little bit apprehensive, with preconceived notions of a small, quirky group of people. To my absolute amazement, the class was bustling with participants from every walk of life. Young, old, even older than me, couples, singles, gay, straight, a true melting pot of diversity. I want to bring the conversation about sexual practices out of back laneways to the forefront of our everyday lives. To have this conversation, we're joined by our really special guest, Mark, the founder of Studio Kink. Warm welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
But before we dive into the fascinating world of Studio Kink, let's get a little bit of background. From what I understand, you grew up in a traditional Italian family.
A traditional Italian family in Australia tends to mix with all the other Italian families, which we did not tend to. And we had large family business and very driven father, very dominant father, very capable and dominant mother as well. So, it was more, for me, it was more a thing of self-discovery. And even at that age, I was very curious. So I looked around a lot, and my parents went to Italy often. So I was often left at home alone. So, to explore, to work out things, Even though kink never touched me until probably until I was about 17. So a little bit later.
Tell me a little bit about that. So exploring, you've got a curious mind by the sounds of things and always have. And you got to 17 and...
Well, funnily enough, in your introduction, you talked about the norms of porn. Well, I was looking at porn, and there was a particular porn that I watched that sort of changed my focus, and it was about a man and a woman dominating another woman who was restrained, and they went through a whole negotiation with her at the beginning, and then effectively they played on making the woman who wanted the man desire the woman as well. And it was this power play. And strictly if you took it under Me Too and today's negotiation and consent values, it probably wouldn't pass the test, because it's kept putting the woman into positions, or the other woman into positions where to force desire, which really wouldn't come under how you would negotiate today. You wouldn't do that today. It would be a no-no. It'd be like not really enthusiastic consent. But at the time, it really intrigued me. And I got married not much longer, 3 years later, and I was already playing, tying up and trying to have my partner rolling orgasm. Like it was like, so that was a goal of me at 20 years old. So, now it's 40 years later.
You've come a long way.
Yeah.
So you were married and you started investigating. I think one of the things you said in one of the classes was that you learned pretty early on, and probably around this time, how to help and to have a relationship with the woman where she achieves orgasm. And I remember you saying, but an orgasm's like a goal. And rather than a goal, it's a journey that you go on.
I think for a young man trying to see himself as a good lover, having a woman orgasm once or twice, 3 times is like it's a confirmation of I'm doing a good job, you know. But, no, I know much better today, and the difference about a lot of people focus on the orgasm when they shouldn't. They need to sort of release their mind a bit, and if they're only focusing on the orgasm, it's unlikely they're going to get there. So that's why when I'm teaching today, I talk about layers, and if you play with layers, it doesn't have to be the orgasm as the focus, because other things are the focus, and that means that the person isn't concentrating on trying to orgasm, and if they are, they're in the wrong place, because it's, the fun and the enjoyment and the pleasure is where it should be. And the orgasm comes by itself. It's not the aim, it's the result.
It can be distracting if you think, gosh, I have to achieve this with an orgasm. And, I think at Studio Kink you explore so many different ways of experiencing pleasure. You mentioned that early on one of the first things you saw was, this pornography with some submission and dominance. And do you find that people tend towards one more role play than the other?
I don't even know. It's a funny thing. People talk about role play. When I'm in my dominant energy, I'm not role playing. I'm just being myself. Like I'm not. I believe in my dominant place. Now that doesn't mean I'm domineering or I put any sort of energy towards anyone else. It's just how I place myself. And people react to it. People respond. People see my energy and will come to me. I mean, I've got men in the scene who are older than me and have been in the scene as long as me, who, when they see me, refer to me as sir, just as a respect thing, not because of anything else. I've never dominated them. I've never tried to.
Yes. It's the position that you hold.
It's just how I carry myself.
Yeah, no, I'm super interested in what you have to say. And when you talk about the scene, what does that refer to? So you started when you were younger. You were exposed to.
Okay, so I wasn't in the scene. So I'll make some clarity on what I'm saying there, or how to clarify that position. So me exploring at home is me exploring at home. I'm learning. Playing with a partner, looking at porn, buying some implements or sex toys. That's not me being in the scene. That's just me being proactive at maybe. See, it's never that I actually looked at porn and went, I want to do that. I use my own mind. I use where I think I need to go. But I watch a story that's created in porn and go, oh, and I put my own spin on how I would make that and how it fits with the person that I'm playing with. So, but the scene itself, when I was probably 37 is when I first came out onto the scene, and I came onto the scene by actually doing it on the internet, and at those days it was chat rooms that were Yahoo based, right? And after my second marriage had broken up, I went and I posted that I was male dominant and I was coming out onto the scene, as in the public scene, and I wanted to meet people, and funnily enough, one of the first responses I got back was Eleni writing back to me going, and she's a quite an intelligent woman, and it wasn't like a dating app where you swipe left or right. It was like her throwing her intellect at me, a little bit of a spin, and just seeing how I'd respond, and me doing the same thing, and she understood quickly that I was playing the same mind games, not a bad way. It was just more trying to find each other, and then we met each other and started a BDSM relationship. So the scene is what I would call the people who are active, going to events or education. And when we started, there wasn't any education or very little education, and it was mainly done through the queer community. That was 2001 in Sydney. There would have been, I think, 300 or 400 people active on the scene. And today, Studio Kink's taught 5,000 beginners in rope in the last 7 years. So like it's just exploded.
It's gone from being taboo to now something it's commonly acknowledged, not necessarily accepted, but certainly acknowledged.
I smile
more.
at you because we march at Mardi Gras and we march for kink. It's because even though there's queer elements in the whole group, the reality is that it's okay to be gay because that's the whole point of Mardi Gras. It's not okay to be queer. It's not okay to be kinky because if you're a kinky teacher, you lose your job. Like you can't teach children. So there's definitely a stigma against kink. There's nothing wrong with what we do, and I'm an ethical person, and if I'm doing it with another ethical adult who chooses to do it, then we're okay. There's nothing wrong. But society still smirks its eye up and says, those people are weird or whatever, which is just because they don't understand.
And so we've used the words kinks and fetish quite a few times. Do you want to just give us an explanation about?
It's probably interchangeable, but a kink community is people who are into kink. So kink could be playing with breath play or choking. It could be tying up, could be whipping, could be wax. There's so many things that
any
are
act kind of outside of the mainstream.
Yeah, it's just another term that would be phrased as BDSM, bondage, discipline, sadism, masochism, and DS, domination, and submission. Right? And fetish. Funny thing about fetish, they call it fetish scene. Fetish is about generally more, if someone wears, for example, has a uniform fetish, they feel strong when they put their uniform on, they're straight outside. Same as when they wear latex. They put their latex on, they feel sexy. Right? Now, a fetish strictly is that you need that to get off.
That was my understanding, that a kink is something that's slightly out of the norm, and that a fetish is something that's the same but has to be present in order for somebody to feel sexual pleasure.
Or should be included to help them achieve that, right?
Yeah.
But sexual pleasure doesn't have to be orgasm. So someone who's getting off in their latex gets off by being looked at and being admired and being and it might be that ends up being that when they go home and they're like that's how they pleasure themselves, having thought of all the people appreciate them.
That's a whole nother podcast where we start talking about we talk the difference between but also the difference between sex and orgasm, because they're very different things.
That's right. For the person.
Yeah,
so it's very relative to the person involved.
Yeah, you have a pretty unique living situation. So, tell us a bit about that. I mean, and we're talking here about, divorce and relationships breaking down after a long time. You've been in relationships for a long time.
Yeah. Long-term poly BDSM.
People who are maybe newly divorced are thinking, I don't want 3 wives.
Well, I don't have 3 wives. So to be very clear, when I first met Eleni and we decided to explore the BDSM, the DS side, and the funny thing, she was after a female dominant because she figured that female dominants were more strict, and then she met me and went, Mark's the most dominant person in the room, right? So for her it was a challenge, but when we started to sort of date, right, BDSM date, and we started to get a bit more serious, and I'm like, just be clear, we're never going to get married. I'm never going to get married again. I've had 2 experiences and I'm like, it doesn't, society puts expectations on relationships in a marriage that it's not society's choice to do so, but that's what it does. So it taints what it could be. Yeah. So today I'm like, well, even 20 years ago, still today, post-marriage, post-divorce, what I worked out, I said to Lenny, I'm not going to get married. You're never going to be my wife. Doesn't matter what happens, right? So you can be my submissive or my slave, whatever we work out, but you're never going to be my wife. But it was always an open relationship with allowance of other people in our relationship. So me and Lenny started to sort of play and intermingle into the scene. And I was already performing at Hellfire, and about 4.5 years later, Barney showed up at Hellfire as a 20-year-old in a little PVC dress, looked me up and down and went, "If you're not doing anything, would you mind tying me?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, come here." And I just tied her, and it's cute, And Lenny saw me like 20 minutes later on the other side of the bar at Hellfire and said, "She's cute." And I'm like, "Yeah, get a number." I don't know what her name is. Like
just tied her
off. Yeah, that's right. Lani's been with me for almost 18 years. 18 years in February. Are you living together? Yeah.
You all live together?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Three of us live together. I would make love to Lani, and then I'd go sleep with Lani, and then I'd wake up in the morning, make love to Lani again. right? Every morning.
That sounds very complicated.
Every morning, Nowadays, we just alternate beds. I just swap beds one night each if I'm home.
Okay, that sounds super complicated, and I'm very impressed that you manage it.
Even better. If I'm in Lani's bed, she's on my left, and if I'm in Lani's bed, she's on my right. So if I wake up in the night and I'm not sure where I'm at, by knowing who's in my left or my right, I know which bed I'm in.
Oh my goodness, you've worked it completely out.
Well, it's, you know what? No one wants to be called the wrong name.
True. Similar names though. They do have similar names. Easy to maybe mishear.
No, I know.
I like the division of duties as well. Like they get to divide, and that's been going on for a long time. So it's
And then what was it? Almost 5 years ago, Lizelle was a promo girl at an event and came up to me and Lani, which by coincidence was our 30th anniversary, and she's like, "Take me home and make it worth your while." And I was already tying up Lizelle and I'd performed with her and this and that, but obviously she wanted to step it up, and so it was her negotiation method. So that was in February it'll be 5 years, so 4.5 years ago. And but she doesn't live. She's got her own apartment and she does her own thing. But but it's still
three women. You absolutely have your hands full.
Oh, that's right.
And you're the dominant. I'm interested in the dominant, and I know Eleni does some dominance as well, but probably not with you.
No, definitely. No, it's not probably about it. It's not probably about it. No. I mean, the funny thing is, we were at the Dragon Dreaming Festival just 4 weeks ago. And there's a woman who's her and a partner do all the bamboo structures, or he does all the bamboo structures at all the events. Like they're really well known, really nice couple, really real earthy, hippie bass, like but good energy. And she said to me on the Saturday night, she's like, "I knew it, Mark. I knew that I was right about you." She says, "You've got 3 warrior women." So when you talk about dominance, 3 warrior women that would lie on the ground for you, that would, and she says, "Because you treat them right." And she was raving that night because she was so happy. And I hadn't seen her in a while, and it was a provoking thing when someone says that to me. And I'm like, yeah, she's actually right. All the girls are actually strong and driven and do their own thing.
Yes.
They might be submissive to me, but they're definitely not submissive to anyone else. So
and dominant like you said, very powerful and dominant. Yeah. What's the psychology behind that?
For me, I'm so confident in my space and who I am. So having a woman who's submissive to everything, there's no price to me. But me dominating a strong woman is actually, it's like the woman choosing to submit to me is more of a gift.
Yes.
Because she wouldn't do it to anyone else or very few people. So that's just like, wow. So
it's a really unique relationship.
Yeah, that's right.
So tell me how you started Studio Kink, because we're now like fair way into what happens there.
Yeah. So I started teaching. I taught the first suspension class in the US in 2005 because the Americans were like, "Oh, you can't teach suspension, we'll get sued." And I'm like, "I'm Australian, sue me." Right? And then I'm like, "But if you don't teach them, they're going to do it anyway and do it wrong. So why don't we teach them?" So
teach them properly.
Yeah. So I started touring from 2006 to 2015. I went at least 3 times a year to the US to different conventions to teach.
Shibari fascinates me. I first saw it at Studio Kink at the very first class I went to. I purchased some ropes. They're at my front door now, and it really was, as I said in the intro, I was interested in exploring and understanding more because. Not that I saw Shibari, but BDSM is definitely a component of what's happening sexually across mainstream community. Yeah. and I was interested in learning more and understanding more. Keep my Shibari ropes at the front door, and they're a great point of conversation, as you can imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
So explain to me a little bit about Shibari.
Well, Shibari is all about connection and energy in reality, and people don't really, people think, bondage, tying people up, but that's really missing the point. It's not really about positions or being tied to a bed. It's actually about when I start to flow rope on somebody, they very quickly lose their.
They transcend. I've seen it. I've seen it in the people that you've roped.
Yeah.
There's a transcendence that seems, it's almost like a...
it's a meditation state, let's say.
Yes.
It's a state where people get into such a comfortable breathing zone, inward looking, that they're almost humming. In fact, if I put my hands on them, they are humming. They'll start to hum, and that's not with their mouth. That's with their own body, their own vibrations. So one of the things that I teach in all the Shibari classes is never negotiate up once the scene started, and that goes for both parties, the person being tied and the person tying, because often when I tie someone, they'll get very excited, very turned on. And often they'll want more. They'll be like, they'll want more, so nicely, all right? So, but my answer is no, because at that point they're in an altered mind state. And they might, tomorrow morning when they think about it, go, I didn't realise that was going to happen. Or, so it's a crossing of a line, and it's to a point, if they don't understand that they're going to get to this such a relaxed, happy and erotic state when they've got rope on them, and all of a sudden they want more. My logic is, if you want more, that's fine. Now you know what it's about. Come back another time and negotiate to have more, and then we can talk about it. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to have sex with everyone because they want to have more, because it's not about that. But it's a compliment. It's a real compliment to me. But I don't want to take advantage of that. And I've been doing this a long time, and lots of people get lots of consent allegations against them. But I'm particularly careful on making sure that we don't cross lines.
So it's safety and trust. I think somebody being tied up would involve a lot of consent and trust.
That's why you negotiate a scene, and a scene, by negotiate a scene, I don't particularly mean that I'm going to tell you everything I'm going to do, but I'll talk to you about what you don't want done, and then we'll and talk about, maybe we'll do these things. Often we talk about what's on the table. We'll talk. These are all the things that could be done. Yeah. Are you okay with these things? And because you don't want it to be, you don't want the person to feel like they know what's going to happen next, because there's no excitement. People have got to be kept in a state, when I'm playing that way, of anticipation. The other point is, it doesn't matter if they're willing to go and then halfway through they change their mind. Yeah. The cool thing is to let them change their mind and go, that's fine, because by doing so, they'll trust you more. Yes. They'll come back another time,
Yes. And it's taken you years to get to this point. Lots of practice, lots of education.
I'm probably the best known English speaker in the whole world that does this. So or one of them. So
you're saying English speaker because it's a Japanese?
Yeah. There's other Japanese that are at least as skilled as me, right? But there's not a lot of other English speakers that are as skilled as me. So and also a lot of people think that creating a pattern or a thing or a transition is the skill. It's not. You got to get to a certain level to do those things. But I no longer tie in that manner. I tie more organically to suit the person at the time. And also, if I do a show, I never ever plan what I'm going to do. It's actually created in the show. And we're doing this year. In fact, last week you just got invited to do Mardi Gras main party 24. So. That's great.
Yeah, congratulations. That's nice. Awesome. Yeah.
And traditionally, Mardi Gras didn't see us because I'm not particularly a queer man. I'm not a gay man, but we did their 45th anniversary party and they loved it, and they're like, we want you to do the main party this year.
Let's go. Great. So and destigmatising kink.
Well, that's exactly right. That's part of it. I mean, that's why we march. That's why our Mardi Gras floats have been kink loud and proud, fierce and fearless, like things, about positive kink, images, and we don't tell people to wear a particular outfit. We tell them to wear their kink, tell them what makes them feel good and strong, and it's like when people say to me, "Oh, Mark, I'm coming to do a class with you, or I'm coming to play. What should I wear?" And my answer is whatever makes you feel beautiful or strong, or like wear what suits you.
Yeah,
not what suits me.
Is there a I'm a divorcee. I came along because I wanted to learn more about this new world. Is there a group of people that you find, the greater number of participants that you teach? 25
to 35s, which is probably an average starting age group, let's say. But we got, I've got people, probably 80 that come to the studio.
Yeah, I was blown away. And couples, and like super straight looking couples, you think they're going to the wrong place. Yeah. We're all entering the same door and all coming up to the studio.
That's a positive thing on how we can sort of transcend or make people feel comfortable and safe in an environment when they probably should be going, I'm really apprehensive. But for the same token, often we'll sell tickets to events and probably 15, 20% of people don't show.
Oh.
Just don't show. So which means that's the anxiety. That's the either getting to the door going, can't go in, or running late and then going, better not, or deciding right at the beginning, I'm not going to go,
Yeah.
So it happens.
That makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense.
And so, in fact, when we had COVID and we were allowed to trade and we had space restriction on 4 square metre per person, blah, 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 we got to the point where, and we had to cut our numbers right down, we got to the point where we go, okay, but we know people aren't going to show, so sell 2 extra tickets and we'll work out how to do it. But they never.
People didn't turn up. The numbers always worked out. Yeah.
So,
and look, we're finishing off. One of the things I'm really interested in asking is if we're talking about long-term relationships, people who may be interested in investigating this world a little bit more. Where do you suggest they start? Is it a conversation? How do you suggest somebody who has an interest in this starts?
I think the studio is a really good place as a starting point because it starts the conversations of consent and limits and negotiations, and that's actually the basis of it all. If you can understand that and grasp that that's the key component, right? Then it's obviously finding the person that suits you. The studio. A lot of our people who come to the studio for a first class find us in Google.
Yeah, that's how I found you.
Oh, so
that's absolutely how I found you. I was like, trying to understand what was happening for me when I was going out dating. And, I found Studio Kink, went along to a class and...
Okay, so there it is.
And, it's changed my life. Like I said, it's, talking about sex and intimacy
opens you up.
The mainstream.
Helps you open up too, helps you find out who you are, So if you think that, okay, you're not sure what to do and you go into Google and you find Studio Kink and you think, I can do that, have a look at our website. Read our
think
terms.
Think of me.
But I would say read our terms and conditions and we talk about what the classes are about and what's expected and da-da-da. It's all laid out there if you want to read it.
Yeah, it's a good website.
A lot of people don't read it, but if you read it, you go, okay, I feel more comfortable now. Yeah. And the other thing is you're not sure, you know what? Write to us. Write to us on Messenger in Facebook and go, hey, I do it all. I reply to so many people. Hey, I'm thinking of coming. I'm not really sure. What should I wear? And I'm like, you'll be fine.
And you've got a contact page on your website as well.
I'll be like, there'll be 30 people in that class. I'll be
you are not alone.
Yeah, book your ticket early because if you wait till the last week, you might not get a class spot. You might have to wait another month. But at least that personal communication in a message to them allows them to go,
it's safe. You're human.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you're not
that's
some
that's right.
Crazy person who's going to whip them the moment they
might
walk
be.
into the
Those
door.
crazy people are human too. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's
we're all
true.
human. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's true. That's a whole different conversation. But thank you so much for your time today. It's been really enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the next episode of Kismet.
couple therapist needs to be able to deal with the relationship, not just do individual therapy with two people in the one room.
Don't miss an episode. Hit subscribe where you're getting this. Follow our socials and ask any questions on my new website where we're building for like-minded people wanting to reconnect.